Welcome back. All right, news of the day video for all you fine people on the internet for your Wednesday, January the 22nd. Going from top to bottom on the board. That's how this works. So San Jose's been busy today. Sturm's been placed on injured reserve, and maybe that's why they were busy on the waiver wire as well. They have claimed Walker Duehr off waivers from the Calgary Flames. So Duehr joins the San Jose Sharks. They've also made a minor trade with the Anaheim Ducks. Pavel Regenda joins the San Jose Sharks. Justin Bailey traded to Anaheim in that deal. So it's a minor deal. Regenda has been called up by Anaheim at times, and I think, a little bit of something there. We'll see whether or not San Jose uses him and how many games he might get into, that kind of thing. San Jose definitely needs a shakeup. So whatever San Jose does at this point is totally understandable because it definitely seems like, well, you're not expecting to be playoffs bound or a playoff contender. It's just got really ugly for them lately. Valeri Nichushkin apparently had some kind of a setback. He was seen as day-to-day, close to returning, and now he is returned to week-to-week status. So, as I always say, when a status becomes week-to-week, I assume it's at least 2 weeks. Not great news. Colorado could use what Nichushkin brings to the lineup. It's a big difference when he's in there as opposed to when he's not. He's just such an offensive dynamo out there that just takes that element out of the lineup for Colorado. Not that there aren't other players who can do that, just it's one less weapon for them. So Nichushkin, a little ways further out from playing than he was prior to that setback. Interesting note for the New York Rangers from last night's game. Rempe scores, and the primary assist was from Edstrom. Rempe's 6'9", Edstrom 6'6". That is the tallest combination on a goal in NHL history. It's one of these baffling things that I'm thinking somewhere there's some guy who works the stats. Like, I get talked about a lot for my stats and everything, but these stats guys, it's insane the stuff that they can dig up. During games, for instance, on TSN, Sportsnet, and ESPN, you get these stats just get fed. Oh, this team hasn't won here in 1968. And, well, this team hasn't won with the humidity above 40% in the building since 1985. Like, it's just insane. So, at any rate, congratulations to Rempe and Edstrom for being tall. So, yeah, just interesting. Now, the meat of this video is what's going on with Utah. So, full credit to Ryan Miller of KSL. KSL reporter, listed as a Jazz reporter, so I guess he also covers the Utah Hockey Club. And what are they going to be called next year? We don't know. That's still in doubt. Yetis has apparently been refused by the Copyright Office, and they're citing the fact that there's a brand called Yeti, which is very big, very well known, and they think that that would create some confusion. Even though it's Yetis, which is plural, which doesn't make sense. In my mind, more than one Yeti is still Yeti. But the likelihood of confusion is why they don't care that it's plural. They're saying, no, it's still going to create confusion. No. Blizzard, Venom have also been refused on those same grounds of confusion with other brands and other names. And so that limits what Utah can do. And the Utah Hockey Club name, they've been told you can't trademark Utah. You can't trademark the state of Utah. But apparently if they use an amendment to show that they're using the name Utah Hockey Club, they could continue to use that. So the least interesting option would be to stay with exactly what they have now. And that could happen here. The two names that have apparently not been refused, but the application apparently has an expiry date on it. So Mammoth and Outlaws are the two that didn't have any challenges to them. There was no reason they couldn't use them. So you have to think somebody somewhere is making Utah jerseys for next year right now. There's a name that Ryan Smith wants to use for the team. Maybe there's another tag for Yeti. Maybe something Bigfoot related can be used, something like that. At any rate, I've been a very vocal supporter of the name Mammoth. I think Mammoth works. I think you can use it with this color scheme, and I think you could have a fantastic logo for Mammoth. So that's still my vote. Although we've all known that Yetis is very likely going to be the name that gets picked. But with this setback of not being able to get the copyrights they're looking for, it has to be a major headache for ownership and for management in general, and also for the manufacturers, because there's the possibility the team says, hey, so all those Yeti jerseys you guys made, those are great. We're going to have to change the name. So we'll see what happens there. But at this point, Utah, just a bit of a hiccup in terms of naming the team. So let me know your thoughts. Do you think they find a way to make Yetis work? Do you think there's another word Yeti related they can use? Something that'll make this happen. But let me know your thoughts on that matter. I'm always interested when a new team comes into the league anyways, and then, the naming of the team is important. Getting the name right is important. So hopefully they get the name right. And if Yetis isn't going to happen, you pivot, you go to Mammoth, and I'm a happy camper. Honestly, I'm a happy camper if we get Mammoth. But let me know your thoughts. John Hines, talking to reporters today, he is optimistic that Kaprizov and Spurgeon could return tomorrow against Utah. That would be huge news. Apparently, Minnesota fans not all that happy with some of the line combinations that are being used here and there. I will say Jesse Pierce's take, which was basically, look, the lines are going to change. It's not a big deal. I think that's the right reaction to have. But anyways, if you get Kaprizov and Spurgeon back, that's going to change all the lines anyways. So if they do get them back, that's going to make a big difference for them. They're at home against, oddly enough, Utah tomorrow. So maybe we see Kaprizov and Spurgeon then against the team that's trying to get a name. So, but see, Minnesota Wild worked. Wild absolutely is a great name. And right from day one, that's worked. And the logo's fantastic. So maybe something in that same idea of something vague-ish that you could still use like a Yeti / Bigfoot kind of logo for. Anyway, so Winnipeg Jets news. Lowry's listed as week to week. Not great news. Adam Lowry has been fantastic for Winnipeg this year. They're going to miss him while he's out. The good news being that Appleton's expected to be activated from injured reserve, and he should be in the lineup for them tonight. So you get Appleton back, you lose Lowry. We'll see how that all goes for them. The Winnipeg Jets, 4-4-2 in their last 10, and Kevin Cheveldayoff has said that they will have some interest in Jonathan Toews once he is on his way back to the National Hockey League, should he reach that stage. Toews has talked about, trying a comeback, and it could work in Winnipeg. Like, Winnipeg could make Toews their fourth line center, because you're not going to expect Toews to be what he was, say, 10 years ago. So you bring him in, you play him on the fourth line, and then he moves his way up the lineup if he's able to play those minutes and if he can still have that kind of impact. But if they could sign Toews, that would also show people that, Jonathan Toews, who's not going to want to play for a team that he doesn't feel like he has a chance to win with, that could say a lot if Toews ends up playing for Winnipeg about maybe their chances and how they're perceived by other players. So we'll see what happens. Josh Norris is out for the weekend. Perron's returning to the lineup for Ottawa in their next game, but Norris is out. The interesting thing is that he kind of gets tripped up by Trocheck and hits his chin on the ice. You could even see him on the bench showing that he had like a bruise on his chin. Now he's out. It's listed as an upper body injury, so I would think it's probably related to that. Maybe the thing is they held him out of the game from the second period on last night for precautionary reasons. But it looks like it might be a little bit more than that if he's not going to play through the weekend either. So all the best to Norris. I'm kind of surprised that he's out. But again, when it's a head injury, potentially a head injury, yeah, it can be a little bit tricky in terms of diagnosis. You may feel fine at the time, and then you may have headaches after, that kind of thing. Interesting news, Pierre LeBrun reporting that the Columbus Blue Jackets and Provorov's agent have had preliminary discussions about some kind of contract extension. One thing that's seen as potentially being an issue could be that he is 28 years of age. He may want an 8-year extension. Columbus may not want to go the 8-year route, which would be understandable because signing somebody through age 36, it's a long commitment. And while defensemen tend to do pretty well in their mid-30s, there's no guarantee. So we'll see what happens there, but at this point, Provorov, I would think if he hasn't got something signed with them by trade deadline, which I think is March 7th, he'll probably end up being moved. I can't see Columbus risking losing him for nothing, considering the history they've had with some of the players they have lost for nothing in free agency. John Klingberg, who was signed, of course, by the Edmonton Oilers, he is expected to debut sometime next week. That's what Chris Knobloch said, that they have 3 games next week, and they're just going to figure out where they're going to put him in. Also, it's being reported that Edmonton would still like to add one more defenseman, which is fine. You can't have too much depth on the blue line. You just can't. If you have 10 NHL ready defensemen, you have 10. So when you go into the playoffs, if you lose a couple of guys, you have other ones that can come in and play. And that's something the Oilers are obviously going to have their eyes towards after making it all the way to the Stanley Cup final and Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final, only to, lose that Game 7 against Florida. So looking for that measure of revenge, you've got to have the depth on the blue line if you're going to go through with that. Drew Doughty, good news for LA Kings fans. Spotted in a regular jersey at practice. He's going to be traveling with the team on their 5-game road trip. I don't think he's playing tonight against Florida. At least I haven't seen anything about him being activated as of yet. But there's a very good chance he's going to be playing on that 5-game road trip. And the LA Kings will be very happy to have Drew Doughty back in their lineup. It does make a huge difference to their defense. So all the best to Drew Doughty in his return, even though he doesn't seem to be much of a fan of the Vancouver Canucks. I assume that doesn't extend to Canuck fans necessarily. So anyway, Logan Thompson. So this is a story that's been out there since the Four Nations tournament names were announced. But since the 4 tournaments names were announced, and especially in goal where there's a lot of discussion about Team Canada, Logan Thompson's numbers have been insane. In fact, he is the reason that Washington looks so good. That's my theory. It's my opinion that Logan Thompson has been absolutely ridiculously good for them over the last few weeks. And his numbers are amongst the best in the National Hockey League amongst goaltenders. And he says he's willing to join Team Canada if he's called upon. He was not surprised he didn't get the call from Team Canada. And it feels like this is probably a Bruce Cassidy related issue. So, because Cassidy's the coach for Team Canada, right? So, at any rate, Logan Thompson, if he gets a chance to wear a Team Canada jersey, honestly, I'd be really happy about it. I think Logan Thompson's a very good goaltender. I said that throughout the summer when Vegas moved him and everything. I said I thought he was the best goaltender Vegas had. I was really surprised that he got traded. Even though I knew he'd asked to be traded and all that fun stuff, I just felt like he was their best goaltender, and I was surprised they didn't find a way to make it work. And I'm glad that he's had that chance with Washington, and he's done really, really well. So whether he does or doesn't play at Four Nations, he said he'll be cheering for Canada, and so will I. So we'll see what happens. But let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, as always. I'll just be rooting for Team Canada most of that time from California. We'll be back home before the tournament's done, though. So a lot of the tournament I'll be down in California. But anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support, as always. It is so greatly appreciated. I will talk to you again soon.